Thank you very much for letting me help this speech and this presentation. So my presentation, it's not.
We lost your screen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to barge in. Yes, now we have the screen.
You have the screen. Perfect. All right. So what will be the content of the webinar? First, I will introduce the company Followed. It's already a little bit started, so I will complement this completely. So the second part is about the precast bathroom units called PBU in general, different production methods, also the mold system itself. So there are different types to produce this kind of molds, and the finishing line is most, I would say, important, because there you can also get a lot of efficient parts. So, all right. So, company Followed. The company Followed is family owned. It's the third generation. Was founded in 1925. We had about a turnover of 80 millions. The staff members are about 280 people, and an export rate of 80%. As you can see, we have a lot of subsidiaries in Brazil, in China, in Russia, and very good in India. There we have also a precast factory where we produce molds, tilting tables, and a lot of precast equipment. So Followed offers you a powerful range. We are the innovation maker. We take technology leader since 1925. We offer solutions for precast concrete production, which we now will discuss this a little bit more. We have also some other branches like solutions for interlogistic and processes, and solutions for shunting and loading process. And one part which comes more and more important and will also be very important in India is the after sales service. That means that your performance of your equipment you use is always in a good shape. And so we supply you with spare parts, with retrofit, and also with maintenance work. The precast division, Smart Precast Solution, there we have the main focus on your project. That means if you have a project, we go into deep details with you to find the best equipment for your project, cost-wise and also technology-wise. We have a large variety of equipment available, from stationary equipment like tilting tables to special formworks for different kind of elements, up to automated circulation lines, and we always use state-of-the-art technology like robots, plotters, and storage systems. So now we come to the PBU. Why should you design or produce PBU? There was a lot of points already mentioned before. So it is quite, you speed up the erection process, of course. It's cost saving, you have a better control of finished products, and you can achieve the best high quality when you do the precast pods within your production facility and not at the construction site. And another point, which I think it's quite also important, everything is predefined with your bathroom pod. If you install it within the building, all the connections are defined, so the next working part can be done easily and fast. So, but this requires a smart production. So what is all behind your product? That means you have to have a good PBU design. It must be watertight. This is the very important point about that. And you also need cost-efficient mold system. Not all molds available on the market are really cost-efficient, because they are very large in size and with a lot of, I would say, hydraulic installation and mechanical parts, which is sometimes very hard to speed up the process of producing PBU units. So I will later on show you some different methods just to speed it up. And also the PBU production must be organized quite well, because you need specific working stations where you do always the same work to also speed up the process. Otherwise, it's the same at the site in your plant if it's not organized quite well. And also a very important point is the smart handling, so that the PBU units must be really in a good design that you can easily handle it during the production, during the finishing, during the transportation, and also storage. Because if you just use one of the two types of installing the PBU units within the building, and then you must make up your mind how you can store the pots in a good shape at site or in your facility. And yeah, then the erection with the different system, I would prefer the drop-in and not pushing in system, because it gives you more flexibility of the connections and everything. So now we come to the three different production methods. One part is the single piece or multi-piece production of walls and floors. That means you can easily produce flat panels and roofs and slabs and bring it together to one large unit by some kind of connections, predefined connections from available suppliers. So this gives you the most flexibility about the size, and you do not need a lot of very cost or high price mold system, and the next project you have a different shape, and then you have to reconfigure your complete mold. And when it's completely in steel, sometimes you're lost with modifications. So the multi-piece production, there will be installation of a complete circulation line. That means you have some kind of devices which remains on its position, just like a concrete distributor, some kind of service parts, a plotter, cleaning devices, and so on. And just for flat, and also storage where you can cure your elements. So this, I just show you the, oh, it's hanging. Oh, multi-piece production. So the advantage, most flexible for different precast elements. You can also have some high automated working steps, just like placing the shutters within the system for different sizes. You get a high production output, more than if you have some molds. You have predefined working positions, so curing will always be the same position, casting, placing shutters, put in reinforcement. All these have standard precisions where the workers know exactly what they have to do. The disadvantages of it are a little bit the high investment, and you need also a large working space, because the plant requires at least some space. And an additional working step, you just have to assemble the precast elements next to each other. This is one step you have to do after you produce the flat elements. So here are the components. You see cleaning, plotting can be done, casting machine, concrete distributor, some crossover trolleys, stockyard system or storage system, sorry. And the possibility also to check, to control via laser, to check if the dimensions are in the correct shape. So the next production is the two parts production, bathroom cells in two elements. So that means you have an L-shaped element and an L-shape with a roof. So the advantages are flexible in different precast designs, because the L-shaped elements can be differ in size, and also the roof part element can also different sizes, because you place some shutters for the specific dimensions. You need a small working space, few connections between the two elements. It's a very rigid or almost monolithic structure afterwards. And you can also produce several elements in one mold. For example, here you can cast 4 pieces, for example, in a battery mold, can go up to 20 casting cells. So there you can also increase the production capacity. The disadvantages are you need 2 different molds. Additional working step is that you still have to assemble the mold in 2 pieces, but and if you cast it in this way, you need to turn at least 1 element to get the roof part, the floor part as a precast element. So this is a picture of an L-shaped battery mold. So you see the casting cells in this kind are the dimensions 3 by 3, height of 2.8 meter with 6 casting cells. That means 6 pieces per shift can be produced. And the other mold is a shaft mold. Here you see with the outer walls with a larger scale, so larger dimensions, so you can cast 4 pieces at once in such a mold system. The last part, which is mostly known, are a complete mold. So very easy to use. You just open it, put the reinforcement in, close it. But the mold is quite complicated because you need a shrinkage core because all walls are 90 degrees to each other. So therefore, you have to implement a very flexible shrinkage core that the mold inside gets a little bit smaller for easy stripping off. The advantage is monolithic structure, no connections needed, small working space, but you have a predefined mold configuration. That means the design is fixed, the freeze, then you place an order for a mold or produce it, and afterwards everything is fine because no one can disadjust the mold. The disadvantages are inflexible for different elements. If there are in the dimensions a large difference between the next project, then you can smallly adapt the mold, but not completely. It's a high investment with the shrinkage core because you need a lot of machine parts inside and also hydraulic system. And it needs to be turned in this way. Other way would be if you just put the shrinkage core inside, then you do not need to turn it around, but then it gets more and more complicated. And you still have to do a quite good cleaning of the mechanical parts because this would be the first part which get problems afterwards. So here you see a small shrinkage core from the inside. It's an open core, some hydraulic installation, and the mold from the outside. This is a very simple mold. And next part, here you see the core inside, some L-shaped outer elements or some different other molds. These are project-specific molds. And here on the lower side, you see a mold production within a building. You see a lot of molds next to each other. So this still has to be organized because it always will look a little bit like a mess. All 3 production types requires also a finishing line for assembling or for plastering, putting tiles inside, or installation. So if you like to do this in your plant, you can completely finish your bathroom cell, maybe also with lights, and install it later on. Just you have to take care that it stays clean until the building is finished. You have to cover it during transportation and installation. But this is also, you need also a large area just for the finishing of the precast units. So these are the customers worldwide. We have SCG or Team Build or Gamuda, Binocor, Austria Precast. So that's from my side. So thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward for your new projects. Here's also mentioned Mr. Roy Debashish from Follett, India. If you have any further questions or projects, just let us know and send us an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander. Your experience and in-depth understanding of the subject was very evident in the presentation.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Ramamurthy Rajendran, who will speak about global experience of PPBC and bath pots. Mr. Ramamurthy Rajendran is a former Director of Technology and Capability Department in the Building and Construction Authority, Singapore. He is a chartered professional engineer. He holds a degree of Bachelor of Civil Engineering. He also holds Master of Science from National University of Singapore and Master of Business Administration from Strathclyde University, UK, and Bachelor of Law from University of London. Mr. Ramamurthy, forum available for you.
I just go through it and I found two questions about the curing process of the PBU units. How can this be ensured? And one simple answer is that we can install some heating register within the mold so that the curing time can be reduced up to 6 or 8 hours until you can start demolding. So this was one point. And also the waterproof or water tightness of the PBU units. I know from some customers that they just do after their casting, they implement some sealings inside the casting and make a water tightness improvement of 24 hours. So they fill up the complete PBU unit with water, and after 24 hours, no leakage is there, then you can say, okay, it's quite watertight. So, and last question was, if such a plant to produce the pots can be done at the construction site. I would say this depends on the volume you have to produce the pot units. If the pots are in a large scale, so then it can be possible, but only next to the site, a specific production line, which then later on can disassembled and used later for the next project. It is possible. We have done a project in India where the customer already produced a complete circulation line next towards the construction site. And if they have a lot of multi-story buildings and later on disassemble the plant and bring it to the next construction site. So these are the questions I've seen. So I